Tomorrow morning, stand at your bathroom sink and pay attention to what your hands do. Watch exactly how your fingers move across your face when you wash it. Watch the direction. Watch the pressure. Watch the angle your neck drops as you lean toward the mirror. Watch how your face tilts slightly forward as you move in closer to examine what last night left behind. Most people have never paid attention to any of this. Not once. They have been performing the exact same sequence of movements on their face every single morning for 30 years. And every one of those movements has been applying mechanical force to the facial tissue along the jawline, force in the same direction, at the same angle, with the same pressure, day after day, in a way that the cosmetic industry has spent decades training you to perform while never once explaining what it was doing to the structure underneath. This is not about what you are applying to your face. This is about what your hands are doing while they apply it. Welcome to Dr. Mylan Health. Subscribe and hit the bell. Before we go any further, our complete anti-aging book covers every suppressed mechanism this channel investigates. The complete protocol for reversing visible aging across every surface of the face and body, and everything you will never hear in a clinic consultation. Link is in the description and in the comments. Now let me show you what your morning routine has been building toward and how to stop it. Your face is not a flat surface. It is a layered anatomical structure in which the skin is suspended above a series of mobile fat compartments. The malar fat pad over the cheekbone, the jowl fat pad along the mandibular border, the submandibular fat pad beneath the chin, that are held in their correct elevated positions by a network of retaining ligaments anchored to the underlying bone. These ligaments are made of collagen. And collagen, like every biological material, responds to mechanical loading. Apply force in one direction consistently enough over a long enough period, and the structure begins to deform in that direction. Engineers have a word for this: creep, the gradual, permanent deformation of a material under sustained or repeated mechanical load. Facial retaining ligaments experience creep. The direction of the force matters enormously, and the first thing your morning routine does, before you have finished rinsing your cleanser, before you have opened your toner, is apply downward mechanical force to those fat pads and the ligaments suspending them, in a motion you have been performing every single morning for years, without realizing it is happening. When you wash your face, most people use downward strokes. Not because anyone taught them to, because it feels intuitive. The cleanser goes on, the hands move in circles or in downward sweeps. The face is rinsed by splashing water upward and then patting down. The toner goes on with a cotton pad wiped across the skin, downward, outward, or in no particular direction at all. The serum is pressed in. The moisturizer is massaged in circular motions or upward strokes for approximately 15 seconds before the hands naturally drop to downward smoothing motions, because the wrist position that downward movement requires is mechanically easier to sustain. This happens every morning. It adds up to between 300 and 600 individual mechanical contact events applied to the facial tissue across a single skincare routine. Across a year, that is over 100,000 mechanical contacts. Across a decade, over 1 million. And in the majority of people, the net directional force of those million contacts is downward. The same direction gravity is pulling the fat pads, the same direction the retaining ligaments are resisting, and the same direction the jowls are forming. No product you apply during those routines offsets the mechanical consequence of the application itself. The vitamin C serum does not care what direction it is applied in. The retinol cream activates fibroblasts regardless of stroke direction. But the fat pads do care. The retaining ligaments do care. And they are being loaded downward repeatedly by the hands that are supposedly caring for the face. The correction is not complicated. It requires only the addition of directional intention to movements you are already making. Every stroke that contacts the facial tissue during cleansing, toning, serum application, and moisturizer application should move upward and outward from the center of the face toward the hairline and the preauricular zone. Not aggressively, not with increased pressure. With the same pressure you are already using, redirected, upward and outward on the cheeks. Upward on the jawline, from the chin toward the ear, upward on the neck, from the clavicle toward the mandibular border. The mechanical loading that was previously reinforcing the downward displacement of the facial fat pads is now providing a counterforce. Repeated upward strokes applied to the same tissue over the same timeline produce a directional loading effect in the opposite direction. Plastic surgeons who perform SMOS facelifts, the procedure that repositions the superficial musculoaponeurotic system upward and backward, understand this principle intuitively. The procedure applies a sustained upward repositioning force to the facial soft tissue and anchors it there. A daily skincare routine that applies consistent upward mechanical loading to the same tissue over years is not surgery. But it is not nothing either. And the skincare brands who formulate the products you are applying during those routines have known about directional application research for decades. They have never mentioned it in a product instruction leaflet because the insight requires nothing from them and everything from you. And an insight that requires nothing from them cannot be sold. That is the first habit. Now the second, and this one begins before you even reach the bathroom. It begins the moment your alarm goes off. The majority of people pick up their phone within the first 3 minutes of waking. They hold it at chest height or lower, angle their chin toward their chest, and spend between 15 and 45 minutes reading, scrolling, and responding before they ever leave the bed. This position, chin dropped toward the sternum, head tilted forward, gaze directed downward, produces a specific mechanical effect on the platysma muscle that is directly relevant to jowl formation and that almost nobody in the skincare or aesthetic medicine space discusses openly. The platysma is a broad, thin, sheet-like muscle that runs from the fascia of the upper chest and shoulder, upward through the anterior neck, and inserts into the lower face at the mandibular border and the skin of the chin and lower cheek. It is the muscular scaffolding of the entire lower face and anterior neck. When the chin drops forward, as it does every morning for 45 minutes while you scroll through your phone, the platysma is placed under anterior tension. The lower facial tissue to which it is attached is pulled forward and downward by the combined forces of gravity acting on the lowered head and the anterior displacement of the platysmal insertion points. Over time, this repeated anterior-inferior displacement of the lower facial fat pads contributes directly to the forward migration of jowl tissue along the mandibular border. Research published in the Journal of Craniofacial Surgery examining the relationship between forward head posture and lower facial morphology confirmed that sustained anterior cervical flexion produces measurable changes in the position and tension of platysmal insertion points and is associated with accelerated lower facial descent in individuals with chronic forward head posture. The aesthetic medicine space calls the visible cervical consequence of this posture technique. What they do not discuss, because the surgical correction of jowls is significantly more lucrative than the behavioral prevention of them, is that the same postural load that produces the cervical banding also produces the jowl descent. They are the same mechanism. The chin drops. The platysma pulls. The lower face follows. Hold the phone at eye level. Physically elevate it. This is not a minor adjustment. It is a structural intervention in the mechanical loading environment of your lower face for 30 to 45 minutes every morning. Every morning you hold the phone at chest height is a morning your platysma is under anterior-inferior tension during the first critical hour of the day. The hour when the facial tissue is most fluid loaded from sleep, most mechanically vulnerable, and most responsive to the directional forces it is exposed to. Every morning, you hold it at eye level removes that load entirely. A phone stand that attaches to a bedside table or a reading stand that holds the device at eye level costs between $8 and $20. It is the cheapest structural intervention for jowl formation available. And it addresses a mechanical load that no retinol serum, no jawline firming cream, and no radiofrequency treatment accounts for, compensates for, or is even designed to consider. Third habit, the temperature of the water you wash your face with. This one is so embedded in the morning ritual. The satisfaction of a warm or hot face wash, the sensation of steam opening the pores, that it feels wrong to question it. It is wrong to continue without questioning it. Hot water applied to the facial skin produces immediate thermal vasodilation, the dilation of the small blood vessels in the dermal microvasculature in response to heat. That vasodilation is the warm flush you feel. It is also a direct trigger for matrix metalloproteinase enzyme activation in the facial dermis. A study published in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology examining temperature-dependent EMP expression in dermal tissue documented significantly elevated EMP1 and EMP3 activity, the collagen-severing enzymes responsible for structural collagen breakdown, in skin exposed to repeated thermal stress compared to skin maintained at physiological temperature. The mandibular dermis, the skin overlying the jowl zone, is among the thinnest and most collagen-depleted facial zones in women over 40. It is the zone where MP-driven collagen loss is most structurally consequential, and it is the zone being repeatedly exposed to the same hot water wash every morning that a significant body of dermatological research has associated with accelerated collagen degradation. The skincare industry's response to this research has been to develop increasingly sophisticated thermal protection serums and antioxidant formulas to apply after the hot water wash. The logical response, which they have never proposed in a product advertisement because it eliminates a problem rather than creating a market for its treatment, is to lower the water temperature. Lukewarm, not cold, not hot. The temperature at which vasodilation does not occur and EMP activation is not triggered. The difference between a hot water face wash and a lukewarm face wash takes 3 seconds of adjustment at the tap. It removes a daily collagen destruction trigger from the dermis of the most structurally vulnerable zone on your face. No product achieves this outcome. No product can. Fourth habit. This one takes place in the mirror itself, and it is the one most people will argue against most strenuously because the behavior feels productive, feels attentive, feels like self-care. Every morning, most people spend several minutes examining their face closely in the mirror. They lean in, they assess, they look at the jawline, they press at the jowl tissue, they frown at what they see, not metaphorically. Literally, they contract the corrugator and procerus muscles between the brows. They activate the depressor anguli oris muscles that pull the corners of the mouth downward. They tighten the platysma. They make the expressions that communicate dissatisfaction, concentration, and critical assessment. And they hold those expressions for extended periods while examining, touching, and evaluating the tissue they are concerned about. The depressor anguli oris is the primary muscular driver of oral commissure descent and jowl formation. The platysma, in its contracted state, applies inferior traction to the lower facial fat pads. The expressions of critical self-examination that people perform during their morning mirror inspection are precisely the muscular activation patterns that accelerate the descent they are examining. Neurological research on facial muscle habituation confirms that repeatedly activated muscle patterns become more efficiently and automatically recruited over time. The morning mirror examination is training the face to hold the expression of aging more easily and more completely. not because the person is aging faster. Because the muscular patterns associated with the visible signs of aging are being rehearsed daily in front of the mirror. Shorten the mirror examination. Perform the routine, cleanse, tone, apply, protect, with intention and efficiency rather than extended critical assessment. What you are looking for in the morning is not something that changes significantly day to day. The jowl tissue does not shift visibly between Tuesday and Wednesday. The extended examination achieves nothing diagnostically and produces repeated activation of the muscular patterns most destructive to the tissue you are concerned about. One focused look. Routine performed with upward directional strokes. Product applied. Done, the face you are caring for does not need to be scrutinized into looking better. It needs the mechanical environment of its morning routine changed. Here is what that changed environment looks like in practice. Phone elevated to eye level before the alarm even fully sounds. Face washed with lukewarm water using upward circular strokes from the center of the face outward and upward toward the hairline. Toner applied with upward cotton pad strokes from the jaw toward the temple. Serum pressed in with flat palms using sustained upward pressure held for 3 to 5 seconds per zone. Moisturizer applied with upward strokes from the chin, the jawline, the cheeks, and the neck, all moving in the direction that is working with the retaining ligaments rather than against them. SPEF applied last, also upward. Mirror time under 2 minutes. Total morning routine time unchanged. Every element of the routine that was already present remains. Only the direction of force, the temperature of the water, the angle of the phone, and the duration of the mirror examination have changed. 4 behavioral adjustments. No new products. No clinic appointments. No procedures. Do this for 30 days, and then take a photograph of your jawline in identical lighting conditions to a photograph taken this morning. The change will not be the product of any ingredient you applied. It will be the product of removing 4 sources of daily mechanical and thermal stress from the most structurally vulnerable tissue of your lower face. Stress that has been running unaddressed, unquestioned, and unopposed through every morning routine you have performed for years, while the industry that profits from jowl treatment sold you increasingly expensive products to apply in the direction and temperature and posture that ensured they could never be enough. Our complete anti-aging book covers the complete protocol for every visible aging concern, every behavioral intervention, and every suppressed mechanism the industry profits from keeping off your screen. It is organized, practical, and in one place. Link in the description and in the comments. If this opened something for you today, subscribe and share it with everyone you know who stands at a bathroom mirror every morning and wonders why the products are not working. The answer has never been in the products. The next fault opens soon. And what the beauty industry buried inside that one goes even deeper. I'm Dr. Mei Lin. Thank you for listening to Dr. Mei Lin Health. There is a 5th dimension to this conversation that belongs here, because it connects everything above into a single coherent picture of why jowls form and why morning is the critical window. The facial tissue is at its most mechanically vulnerable in the first hour after waking. During sleep, the interstitial fluid in the facial tissue reaches its highest volume, the consequence of the nocturnal lymphatic slowdown described in previous videos on this channel. That fluid-saturated state makes the facial fat pads and retaining ligaments more susceptible to mechanical displacement than at any other time of day. A retaining ligament under normal physiological conditions has a tensile stiffness that resists the mechanical loads of daily activity. A retaining ligament surrounded by fluid-saturated tissue, first thing in the morning, has measurably reduced resistance to deformation. Every downward stroke you apply during that first morning fluid-saturated state displaces tissue against less resistance than the same stroke would encounter at noon. Every downward phone posture you hold in the first 45 minutes of the day applies anterior-inferior platysmal tension to a lower facial fat pad that is more mobile than it will be for the rest of the day. Every hot water wash you perform in that window activates MMP collagen degradation in tissue that is already structurally compromised by the fluid environment surrounding it. The morning is not simply a convenient time to perform a skincare routine. It is the highest leverage moment of the day for either protecting or damaging facial structure, and the routine that most people have built for that window is optimized entirely around product efficacy and almost entirely blind to the mechanical and thermal environment in which those products are being applied. Change the environment first. The products you are already using will have a better structural foundation to work with, and the tissue you are concerned about will be exposed to a fundamentally different set of forces for the first hour of every day, forces that are working with its anatomy rather than against it. One final observation. The 4 habits described in this video are universal. Everyone with jowls does them. They are not the product of unusual behavior or exceptional negligence. They are the natural consequence of performing a morning routine in the direction that feels intuitive, in the temperature that feels comforting, with the phone at the angle that feels comfortable, in front of the mirror for as long as it takes to feel ready. The industry that sells products applied during that routine has every reason to make the routine longer, more elaborate, and more product dependent. It has no reason whatsoever to make it more mechanically intelligent. That intelligence is the one thing they cannot sell, and it is the one thing that determines whether the products already in your routine have any meaningful chance of working with your biology rather than against it.